Welcome, everyone, to the Improvly Speaking podcast. I'm your host, Dayna Gowan, and I'm so excited that you're joining us today. I'm recording in person with my guest. This never happens, and I just love it. I get to record in person in the same room on the same microphone. This is incredible. Real quick rundown. If you haven't listened to the podcast yet or you're joining for the first time, goals of this podcast are 1, to talk about the benefits of improvisation, 2, to talk about how improv shows up in all aspects of our lives, and 3, to inspire you to try new things, get out of your head and judgment zones, and find a creative outlet and passion that can help you. And our guest today is Susan Bartley, who has found a creative outlet and passion and turned it into a whole business. And I've actually had Susan on the podcast a year ago. I released it, I think, in March or April 2023. So you can listen to that as kind of a part 1. But now this is part 2 follow-up. And Susan, I like to think that if you listen to Comedy Bang Bang podcast, he every year, like the first episode, Scott Aukerman, the host, has on Ben Schwartz as the guest, and they get so silly and they have so much fun and they come up with the closing song for the year. And so I like to think you're my Ben Schwartz. You're always going to come on every year and we have these like running episodes together.
Does that mean I get to sing?
Sure, of course.
Hold on to your hats, folks, because that's my jam.
And they call it like Solo Bolo Trollo, or every year it changes names. So we'll come up with a fancy name for it, but this is part 2 with Susan Bartley. So welcome, Susan.
Thank you for having me on. Thank you for thinking I am a good enough guest to be on your podcast twice. We'll see.
We'll see. Of course we'll see, because you've had some amazing growth over this year, and that's what I wanted to talk about. So to catch everyone up, if you haven't had a chance yet to listen to the part 1, we talked with Susan about starting Heaux Apparel, which is your pole fitness apparel company, right? And it's mostly e-commerce based, or you'll sell at like pole conventions. But now Susan has opened a pole fitness studio in Columbia, South Carolina. So Susan, you want to tell us more about Studieaux Heaux?
Sure. So when I started Heaux Apparel, an e-com based company that sold apparel and accessories to the aerial fitness world, I always knew that I would have to have a studio to go hand in hand. And a lot of that is just simply, I didn't have a place to take product videos. I didn't have a place to create content. And so a studio gives you that platform to tie everything together. But then it also puts you in front of students that need your products. So I was lucky this year in September to purchase the aerial studio here in my town.
What?
And that had been on my dream, right? Like I thought if that studio ever came up for sale and I could purchase it and then align it with Heaux Apparel and my other ventures, life would be good. Like dreams realized. And that dream was realized. It had a name before that. I changed it to Studieaux Heaux.
And how do you spell that?
STUDIEAUXXHEAUXXX. And that XXX is funny because it has freaked a lot of people out.
Yeah.
I think it's hysterical because growing up, I'm 48. So growing up in the late 70s, 80s, XXX was in movies and it just meant something naughty. Like as a little kid, we had no idea about a strip club. We had no idea about a porn shop. Like we had no clue. We just knew if you saw XXX and it had the blinking light girl that had 2 different positions she was in, it just meant something naughty. So I think the XXX is hysterical. Part of the studio is pole dancing. A lot of it is helping women find their own sensuality and sexuality.
I love that.
And so the XXX goes along with that. I will say when I bought the studio and changed the name, I had a few people that said things like it would ruin my life to be associated with a studio that had 3 X's in the name. So some people don't think it's as funny as I do, and that's fine. They don't need to be part of it. The majority of people find it freaking hilarious.
I love it. And I am wearing my Hoe Apparel shirt on. This is my favorite Hoe Apparel shirt, too. It has a little hood. It's super cute. It's like one of the best workout shirts. And I'm hoping we're going to the studio later. I'm hoping to get a Studieaux Heaux shirt.
There are Studieaux Heaux. Yes, there are.
Yes. I'm excited to go shopping at the studio.
It's actually cool because we started a brick-and-mortar Hoe apparel store inside Studieaux Heaux. And to see what all that I've been selling, what all I have, there's so much more I want to add to my collection. But what we sell now it's products from all over the world. And that makes me so happy.
Well, and you started selling products because when you were starting your journey about, 4 years ago or so, there was no store to go to buy everything. You had to go shopping here and it was hard to find. So you're curating this whole collection of products now for your students to make it easy for them to grow in their journey and get the products they need. How incredible is that?
I mean, I'm biased. I think it's
I'm biased too.
I think it's pretty incredible. But when I meet my customers, they just get that idea when I tell them what I'm trying to do. They get it immediately and they thank me for it because it's not just for the individual student, it's also instructors. So an instructor has anywhere from 8 to 20 people in a class. And if they're all newbies and they're all asking, where do I get shoes? Where do I get grip? Where do I get knee pads? Instructors don't have time for that. So if they know they have a reliable source, go to Hoe Apparel. If you have any questions, just reach out to Susan. She'll help you find what's right. It just makes it easier for everybody. And I can answer questions. People aren't left on their own to try to figure out the answers to their questions in the morass of Google.
So you gave us the rundown of you bought the studio in September and it sounds like sunshine and rainbows, right? I bought the studio. It was so easy. And I know in the background it wasn't. And also this was one of your dreams, but it wasn't quite the timing, right? You're like, maybe in a few years I'll be ready to open the studio. But this opportunity fell on your lap this year and you had to say yes and to it, basically.
I did. And what I've been telling people, or what I've realized recently, is never in my life have I had so much and so little at the same time because finances are tight. Time is tight. All of that, if I were to focus on that, it would be incredibly overwhelming and terrifying. But if I focus on all that I have, it's not quite as terrifying. And the studio is such an amazing opportunity to create community and to help women that as soon as I start to get down on the scary parts, I go to the studio, I talk to one of our students, I get their story or we just, and I'm like, okay, I'm doing the right thing. I can't be scared. I just have to move forward.
Yeah. And I know it's easy for me as a friend in the background that no financial backing on the line. And I see you going through this journey. And I remember you telling me hey, I've been approached to buy the studio and I'm scared. I also feel it's right, but I'm scared. And I was like, oh, you got to do it. This is so great. This is what you wanted. It's just earlier than you planned. And I know you said yes to it, although it was and there was so much to figure out. Once you said yes, you were like, how am I going to pay for this? How am I going to get the loan? It was a lot, but you just did it week by week, right?
Here's the thing I realized about halfway through the process. I sat down with myself and I thought, do you believe in your ability to do this? And I never questioned that I have the ability to create my vision. The studio is a great place for it. The students are great. I've 23 years of strength and conditioning, of training. I don't necessarily dance. I don't have 23 years of dance experience.
Yeah, you're learning
there. But I know my vision is correct. I know I can make it happen. And I just have to suffer the trials, the lows, the tribulations, because eventually it's going to be exactly what I want it to be. I never doubted that.
Yeah, that means a lot to me. I'm about 2 years into my business. Yeah, 2 years officially into the business, a little over a year in the podcast, and I'm growing. So I see you, and I'm always inspired by you in the journey. And I hear the lows and I see the highs, and it's an incredible journey. And it's really inspiring to see. Thank you for putting your vision out there and believing in yourself. That's so important.
If I believe in myself, and I know I can do it, then I have the time and the ability to believe in you or to believe in my instructors. I hired a bunch of new instructors. A lot of them have great dance experience and I believe in their abilities. They're not necessarily instructors yet, so they're growing into themselves. But I was talking to one of them the other day, and she teaches a really great class called Studieaux Heaux.
Yes.
And it's an
That's
exotic
awesome.
pole class. It's the ATL booty popping, like there's an actual vision. And we were just chatting, and I said, "Have you filled out an instructor form for PoleCon to teach Studieaux Heaux at PoleCon?" And she, mind blown. She just looked at me and she said, "Am I good enough?"
Yeah.
Yeah, you're good enough. And you're teaching a class no one else is teaching, and you're creating choreo that nobody else is creating. And why wouldn't the world need you specifically out there to teach this thing that you're creating? And she just said, I never would have considered that. So owning the studio, believing in myself means that I can see these things in others and plant a seed that might not have ever been put in the ground and flourished. And I love that so fucking much.
Yes. Sometimes we just need someone to say it. Like, we just might not ever think we're good enough. We're scrambling to ever hit those levels we're trying to reach and do all the things. And you just need that positive word, and it can bloom and blossom into something incredible once someone says it.
So let's turn it all around to improv, because the yes and mindset is not just for improv. It's for fucking everything in life. No should never be an option unless, I say, no isn't an option unless there's blood, death, or vomit. Other than that, it's yes, and we'll figure it the fuck out.
I love it. The cursing started.
Sorry, yeah, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
No sorry's needed. I just
when I get passionate,
we're getting into it.
The fuck comes out. But that's what you're trying to do with this podcast, right? So teach that improv can be versatile in your life, and that yes and statement, if you think of it in the context of improv and what it just does on stage with partners, and then make that a metaphor for life.
Yeah.
That's why your podcast is so powerful.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And you've started a podcast too, the Hoecast.
I have.
And that's been going on for about a year.
It has.
And I think we've started, I might have been a few months ahead of you, but like we're going through the podcast journey at the same time.
I started because you had one. So I started, it's all because of you, because you did it. You showed me that it could be done.
Well, if she has a podcast, then I could definitely.
No, I wouldn't have never known the steps. But I got to watch you take the steps.
Yeah.
And this is what you buy. And watching someone take the steps made it seem like something I could also tackle.
And what's your journey been like as a podcast host? How have you enjoyed it, and what have you learned from it?
I love it so much because I have found that people out there need to tell their stories, and most of them don't think their stories are worth telling. And so when you get them on the podcast and you lure them in with, we're just going to talk about, like my friend in Atlanta, we're just going to talk about what it's like to pole dance on roller skates.
Yeah.
Right? That's it. That's going to be the basis.
That's so cool.
It is cool, right? So you would think you could do this whole podcast just on that. And then 10 minutes in, you're talking philosophy, and you're talking childhood trauma and how it shaped who you are now, and where polar skating is fit in that journey. And by the end of this hour and a half podcast, you have a full picture of this human being, what she struggled with, what she's overcome, and what value she adds to the world, all in the context of the aerial sports.
Yeah.
Stories are powerful.
They are. Then just giving someone the platform to share. And what I've learned in podcasting over years, most people say yes when you ask them to come on. And certainly I think I've talked with other people about this. They're like, well, I think people would say yes to having a conversation with you. And I say, sure. But when you label it as, hey, can I pick your brain, or can I ask you a few questions? Sometimes people are like, yeah, whatever. But if you're like, hey, can you come on the podcast? And I can hear your story and learn from your story and learn from you, and then we record the conversation. It's something for you to keep as well. People are very apt to say yes to that.
I have found they are honored that somebody sees something in them worth recording.
Yeah.
And of course, all of my guests are wildly amazing human beings that I feel honored that they said yes. They don't realize, in most cases, how amazing they are.
Mm. Yeah. That's powerful.
It is
too.
incredibly powerful, and it's just a stupid little podcast about pole dancing.
It is not stupid. I've listened to a few episodes. It is wonderful. There's a very wide range of guests because you have on the pole dancing community, but then also like strength and conditioning people and be activated people. It's really cool.
And a friend of mine that fixes metabolic disorders biochemically, and he talked about female sexual dysfunction, which is an amazing conversation.
Yeah. So I love it. Like, the exploration is incredible. And I know we get into it about editing and letting go of perfection, and you challenged me to let go of perfection, and I'm still working on that.
So if you don't know, everything has to be super precise for Dayna. So
Yes, it
the
does.
edits have to be precise. She does like 17,000 edits per episode. Like, she wants to present to the audience, to all of y'all, a beautiful creation. That's where the whole pod mom thing comes from. Like, that's her way of putting beauty into the world. I just fuck shit up. We're just going to press record. We're not going to have a script. We're going to talk, and anything can be edited out. We can always re-record. We can always dump this if it sucks. Let's just see what happens. So just two different ways of doing things.
I will say there is no script for today. There are no talking points. There was no outline.
There are talking points.
There's a post.
There are talking points.
Post-it of talking points. All right, listen, last year I had a printout of like 3 pages of talking points.
We did.
Okay, I didn't even fully introduce you the way I like to introduce guests just now, and I'm sitting here going, oh, I didn't give her the proper introduction. And that's okay. We jumped into it, and it's fine.
It's fine.
Literally no one else has noticed it except for me.
I'm not picking on you. It's
I
just
know.
2 different ways people do things.
But the way that I do things takes a shitload of extra time to do.
It does. But if you listen to your podcast and listen to my podcast, it'd probably be very clear that yours is a clean and beautiful professional podcast. Mine is a little bit grittier.
Whatever gets it out into the world quicker, I think, is the outcome that you want. And I have a lot in the vault, and that always stresses me out because I'm like, I have so many good episodes, so many recorded, and it's like taking so long to get out. And that's what keeps me up at night and stresses me out.
I have 2 more in the vault that I wanted to put out by the end of the year, and they're not going to get put out by the end of the year. And my stress is I don't want those guests to think that their episode wasn't important.
Yes.
Because it was hugely important. My life just took a detour on September 29th, and I haven't quite gotten back around to driving straight yet.
And I feel that too, because I'm like, we had these amazing conversations, and then like sometimes things we chat about aren't relevant anymore, and I get so worried. And in the grand scheme of things,
let me put this shout out. So Misha Saunders, your episode is going to post. You know I love you. You know I think that you're wonderful. And Ecstasy with Twerk Technicians, you also know that I love you. Your episode is amazing. They will both come out of the first of the year. I just suck right now.
And you had someone come on the podcast about senior pole dance?
Yes.
Senior dancing?
So my friend Misha Saunders, that I recorded 2. So she does senior pole fitness in Baltimore, Maryland.
That's so cool.
She's created a certification called Moxie Moves. I've gotten certified in that along with one of my instructors. And in January, we will be offering senior pole fitness classes at Studieaux Heaux. Misha is changing the world. I believe so much in what she's created and what she is doing, because allowing seniors to find their sensuality again, allowing them to dance, allowing to do it all under the guise of fitness.
Yes.
One of the podcasts that has been put out is an interview with all the grannies and her troupe.
That's so cool.
But my individual conversation with Misha hasn't come out yet. And that her journey, like the granny's journey, is wonderful. her journey is different, and I love her. I literally think she is changing the world.
I will definitely be tuning in to that episode. That's incredible. I'm going to have a guest on talking about senior improv too. So I love just the applications of, I'm discovering improv applications, you're discovering pole fitness applications, and how it can just really translate to not just work done in the studio. Like the work you do there and you improve yourself, you bring that improved self into the world and how you interact with people. And that is so powerful.
We'll talk a little bit about Be Activated and my Activate Your Pole.
Yes.
But when I first went through, I think it was the first or second time I went through the 4-day course with Douglas Heel, who created Be Activated. I remember him saying something to the effect of, this system can help people find themselves, which allows their light to shine out into the world. And if we just affect one person and allow them, instead of imploding inwards under depression, sorrow, stress, overwhelm, we allow them to get rid of that so their light can shine into the world. We're changing the world with one person. And he said, now imagine if we did that with 10 people, 100 people. And so when someone says, it's not like you're going to change the world. Oh, no, we can change the world. What we're doing, what we have the potential to do, is help people. And every person that we help and make their light shine a little bit brighter, we are changing the world.
I'm just pausing to let the hairs on my arm go back down because that was really powerful. I love how we've explored different routes, and there's so many ways to let someone find their way to let the light shine, whether improv, pole fitness, any kind of creative outlet really can do that. And yeah, like get out from underneath the covers of depression, and certainly it'll always be there, but life is hard. Life is hard.
Life is hard.
And then if you find something that lights you up and brings you joy, it somehow becomes less hard to do life and easier to connect with people, connect with yourself, and just enjoy life more. And that's what it's all about, right?
That is what it is all about. The studio really shows me that, because every time I'm there and I meet a new student, I'll ask the questions. I don't care. So I'll ask questions, and I tell people, if I ask a question, you don't want to answer it, tell me I don't want to answer it. I'm not getting my feelings hurt, but I want to know about you. And so you get in these conversations with people, and they'll tell you their struggles. They'll tell you their triumphs. And all you have to do is listen and be there. I call it the ministry of presence. Just be present in that moment for that person. And you just don't know what a difference that can make.
I love that, the ministry of presence. I have not heard that term before. I really like that. I mean, that happens in improv too. We're in improv scenes on stage. And while we're supposed to be in the ministry of presence, we're constantly thinking about, like, how should I respond? What's the best way to respond? Oh, I no-butted them. Oh, I want to make them look good. But also, now they've made me a weird character. What do I do? There's just so much going on, at least in this head, in my head. There's so much going on. And I like that phrase, ministry of presence, just being fully present on stage and then off stage when I am listening to people talk as well.
I'm sure you've been in an improv class with new people, and you get on stage and stuff starts happening and somebody just starts to shine. Like they find the character or the moment in the scene that is the pivotal moment, and everybody just, all you can do is stop and watch that person.
Yes.
And then you see the person whose brain won't turn off, and they interrupt that moment because they can't just sit in that light for a minute, let it happen, and then find the appropriate time.
And a part of it's maybe the ego taking over, and it's sometimes it's not ego driven though. It's
no, it's anxiety, or oh my God, they're talking too long, or I gotta get no, it's not a negative or somebody being an asshole,
right? But sometimes we're just so in our heads. There's so much going around and going on. So just ministry of presence and giving space and holding that space.
Holding space is huge.
Yeah, because if you were like, hey, I'm listening to you, but then, oh, wait, let me jump in, I got this, then that trust is gone. And that rapport that you're trying to build, like, you've broken it by tempting or, hey, I have space for you. Oh, wait, no, I don't.
No, I don't.
Taking it back.
Yeah. holding space for someone is another big thing with Be Activated, is when you allow people to access something in themselves, whether it is trauma or whether it's just strength, just sitting with them in that. We had an interesting thing happen the other day. I do a Be Activated class at the studio on Sundays, and about 20 minutes into it, one of the pole classes starts. And the instructor for that class is Duchess, and she's one of my higher level instructors. And she plays this sort of hardcore rap, hip hop, lots of cuss words, like just heavy stuff.
Yeah.
So we're doing this, find ourselves, mind, body. And then all of a sudden this driving beat happens and these like street language. And I looked at my girls and I was like, I don't know if this is helpful or not. And one of the little girls, this little tiny, timid little thing, said, I feel so powerful right now in myself with that music.
Whoa. Wow.
So we just sat in it. We just let the music play. We did our activations and I just let her be powerful.
Wow. Okay. And you've mentioned Be Activated a few times. It's on the Post-its to talk about. It is a talking point, and you've brought it up multiple times. And for those who aren't familiar with Be Activated, which I think many people are not, right? Mm-hmm. You're teaching the world a little bit of what Be Activated is. So tell us what it is and how you run your classes.
Be Activated was started by a lovely physical therapist from Cape Town, South Africa, named Douglas Heaux. You can Google Douglas Heaux, Heel, or Be Activated and find his website. And he was a physical therapist that noticed that people coming in to see him were getting the same injuries over and over again. So they would be fixed. Yeah.
I know what that's like.
Yeah, we know somebody.
Four knee surgeries, 3 of those 4 being ACL knee surgeries. Yeah, I know a little bit about that.
And what he realized is the way that our body shuts down when it's overwhelmed is a certain pattern, and that people run certain patterns in their movement. Mm-hmm. And unless you clear that pattern, you don't clear the potential for injury. So you were running a particular pattern that allowed you to have the same injury over and over again. Mm-hmm. So on one hand, Be Activated is a movement-based practice. It is like massage, except massage works just with your muscles. Be Activated realigns your neurology and your physiology. So it goes on the theory that your brain actually disconnects from your body and that we need to reconnect it. From a movement-based standpoint, it just makes you move better, makes you feel better. It's an amazing tool. Then there's the other end of it, the trauma release, the stress release, the calming of your central nervous system. And so there's all of that. And when we focus on both of those together in a practice, we work towards getting a whole human being that's living for themselves, that is connected with their body, that is rooted to who they are in time and space. It's voodoo.
Yeah, you could do all of that in a 1-hour session.
I can do it in a 5-minute session.
Whoa.
We will be doing Be Activated as our warm-up for every class at the studio starting in January. The first 3 activations in the series we call Zone 1, and it's for your breathing, your psoas, and your glutes. And I can run you through that. You do it on yourself. Takes about 5 minutes. And we've tested it in the studio with students that have no concept. And we get the same responses at the end of 5 minutes.
Wow.
I feel lighter. I can feel my hips. My this doesn't hurt. It's a repeatable thing. Starting in January, it'll be our warm-up. It'll be our cool down. I also teach classes. We have, I think, 4 on the schedule. Every week, I teach people. If it's only one person that shows up, they get a private session.
Yeah.
I work on them. If I have multiples, I teach them to do the activations on themselves, and then I walk around and do a little bit on them so they feel the difference. And we talk through the science and the theory and how it relates to them. They find their story while we're working. Usually I get some of that. It works with my idea for this studio. We are a movement studio. We are a dance studio. We are focusing on movement. I want my people to move better. I want them to decrease their chance of injury. I want them to understand their body. We're also a type of movement that people come to when they're going through it. A divorce, a breakup, kids just moved out of the house, like empty nesters, Like all of that in women trying to find themselves, deal with trauma, generational trauma, like whatever it is. The aerial sport seems to draw women in. So it's a perfect storm.
Yeah.
If I can make you move better and I can help you access this issue and push it out of your tissue, your light shines brighter. One person at a time, we make the world a better place.
I'm smiling at the rhyme. We
What rhyme?
can access the issue and push it out of the tissue.
Oh, access the issue and push it out of the
Is that
tissue.
a
Where is
potential t-shirt?
Yeah, it is. Yep. Yep. Writing it down.
Access the issue, push it out of the tissue. Possible slogan for your Be Activated?
Well, the slogan for for my Activate Your Poll is feeling so ass good.
Oh yeah, that's a good shirt too.
So yeah,
Which is already a shirt.
It is already a shirt. Feeling so ass good. But activate the issue or access the issue, push it out of the tissue is another great.
It's a good one.
Yeah, that's going on social media tomorrow.
I love it. And I've done some Be Activated too. As you were learning at first, you brought it back to the gym when we were doing kettlebell classes, and then you did some on me. And my experience after you do a session and go through all the points, I became one of those wacky waving tube, inflatable tube man characters, which I do have a costume of that too. But I didn't even need the costume then. I was so like wiggly and jiggly, like my shoulders were lighter, my hips were lighter. I could squat really low. There was a lot going on when I would get that done. So I'm curious if can you give us a little rundown of what your warm-up looks like? What do you show people at the studio?
So before I do that, let me just tell you, I worked on someone the other day, and when they stood up, that was their description. Oh my God, I feel like one of those people outside of a car dealership. So
like it was almost like being new in my body. I think for so long, I'm like, I'm stuck here. This is the proper way to be. This is the proper way to stand. Or my injury pattern has forced me to stay in that. Okay, this is the pattern that my knees don't hurt as much in. And then to I guess just do away with that and let my brain know that it's safe to be in my body.
Whew.
Yeah.
There's so many ways to come out and be activated. And when I have someone in front of me for the first time, there's different paths of teaching I can go, or I can just shut my mouth. We can work and I can let the person feel. Recently, I worked on a chiropractor. And because she's smart and her brain is a thinker, I said, no conversation. We're not going to discuss it. I'm just going to work on you and you're going to feel. But I had a client yesterday shared a story with me. She's in her late 40s. This is something that happened when she was 18. The story just came out. Like, wow, this is the thing that happened to me. And then I described that idea of safety, that her pattern, she was a jaw driver, which you're not going to understand, but all of her safety in her system came from a shortened, tightened jaw and shoulder that related to the story that she had told me about the thing that happened when she was 18. And so when I described, there's the idea of movement or moving better, but that the other side of that is safety within your own system, integrity in your system or safety. And because of this jaw and her body having to lock down to be safe, that became her pattern and is what's driven her whole life. And when I made the correlation, she just laid there and she was like, 20 years of therapy and nobody has made that correlation. But we're not taught the idea of not being safe in our own skin or in our own bodies. And most of us aren't or have found a compensation pattern that is disordered to feel safe.
And there's two parts of the body. I mean, there's the mental piece that therapy addresses and certainly helps with, where you can get over or at least talk through some issues and however you're doing it. But is the body still feeling safe? Even if the mental aspects clear up, does the body know it and has it cleared up or not? So that's where you're trying to connect the two.
Physiology drives psychology. If you think about someone who has the typical depressed stance, the shoulders rolled in, the neck pulled down, staring down at the ground, If you come at the world like this, is your brain happy, sunny? Does the world look great? You're limited to this view of the world. And you know there's more, but you can't see it. So it's scary because anything you can't see or can't access is scary. But if we can disrupt this pattern, relax everything, bring it back up, now I can see the world. I know what I'm dealing with. I can meet it head on. It's not nearly as scary or overwhelming. So that idea of physiology, the way your body is, drives your mental and not the other way around.
Whoa. Yeah, that's new for me, hearing that too. I'm just thinking, because in my training, I do the farmer's walks, where you hold 2 kettlebells or dumbbells. I hold kettlebells. And then I call it like the proud pose. Like I'm standing up nice and tall, and I have to hold it for a minute and walk around.
We call it tits up.
Yeah. Yeah, everyone has their different terminology. And after I do it, I'm like, I feel so much better. Like my shoulders are pulled back. I'm breaking the pattern of being hunched over the computer when I work. But even that feeling proud pose, and I know they have whole like affirmations and like you stand and stuff. I mean, those do work, and there's a reason why that works. For that physiology affects psychology piece of it.
The next sort of step to that, the part that I think is the hardest to understand is if this is where your body is stuck, you don't have access to this unless I retrain the connection and we allow your brain to give your body access. So in the pole world, one of the very simple moves we teach people in an intro to pole is a pirouette. And it's just rotating under your arm with your arm high on the pole.
Okay.
And I was teaching a bunch of instructors, and I said, how many times have you had an intro? You tell all your students, put your hand high on the pole, and you look out and someone has their hand by their head. And you say, no, put your hand higher. And it maybe goes up another inch. So what you need to understand is they live in a world that is from where their hand is down, and they do not know there is an up.
Oh my
Their
gosh.
body does not know that until we teach the body that that's available to them. We have to make it available. And so, I tell them if they can't put the arm up, they don't know that's an option. So it's down here. You tell them now to rotate under their arm.
Yeah, it's hard.
It's impossible.
Yeah.
Is that student going to come back?
Right.
No. Pole was so hard. It was overwhelming. It was just a stupid move and I couldn't get it.
And I'm stupid because I couldn't
get it. And nobody out there has the language to say, no. Your body can't access that. Let me show you how to let it access that.
I'm having a revelation of my years back as a coach, volleyball coach, teaching the youth girls, like 14-year-olds, 17-year-olds, and they all had the skills of how to hit. But a lot of times when young girls go to hit the volleyball, they hit it at their head or like ear level. You're supposed to be up high and then you hit down. And that whole thing with the pole, reach high, but then they're here.
This is not safe. If you see somebody and you ask them to extend and they can't, that is because this is not safe for their body. And their physiology knows that. All they have is this. And then they make jokes. Oh, I'm just stupid. Oh, I'm fat. Oh, I'm lazy. Oh, I can't do volleyball anymore.
Like, I just don't get it. My mind doesn't get it.
Yeah, I'm just not smart enough. Yeah. Coach keeps, no. You don't have access to it.
Well, I'm just sitting here thinking about my coaching methods. And all you know is what you know at the time. And so I did not know that.
Yeah, no.
So it'd be like, oh, why aren't they getting it? Oh, they're not listening to me. They're purposefully avoiding doing what I say because they don't think I'm right. You come to all those accusations. And sometimes it is just they're not like body aware, especially 14-year-old girls. There's a lot of body awareness too that you've got to teach them. But the safety piece I did not have in my repertoire as a coach. whenever I get to be a coach again and do things differently, I will. And knowing that safety piece of it's really important.
It is really important because so many people don't understand that they're not safe, that they don't feel safe in their own body, or they don't feel safe running certain patterns.
Yeah.
In our space, in the aerial space, we ask people to do big movements and be big in bodies that don't have that. Rome wasn't built in a day, right? I can't teach all the instructors that, but over time, at least my instructors will be able to see that in their students and have tools to bring them online. And using Be Activated as our warm up is going to help a lot. And nobody really needs to know that that's going to help, right?
Yeah.
It's just going to help.
I know we've been talking about it a bit. Yeah. Can you give a little rundown of what the warm up looks like that
Sure.
you're going to start in January?
So the very first thing we do is the activation for your breathing and your diaphragm. Because if you've done any breath work out there, you know that a full breath requires a diaphragm to be able to relax and come down out of the bowl of your rib cage so that your lungs can expand. But the diaphragm often gets stuck on your rib cage, and we have to encourage it to not be stuck. So you're going to find your bottom rib. So just play around until you find the bottom rib. And some of you, it's going to be hard to find. Some of you, it's going to be easy to find. None of that has to do with body fat. A lot of women, oh, I'm too fat, I can't find it. Tissue. And a lot of that tissue has been laid down so you don't find it, because this is an area of vulnerability. Take a moment to find it. Don't get discouraged if you can't. If you can't find it, just try to get in what you think would be the bottom rib. Take 2 fingers, find that bottom rib, and you want to go on the outside of it and just make small circles. And we are working from not all the way out to the side where that floating rib is and things are weird.
Okay.
We want that, the first solid bottom rib. And you're going to work all the way up the middle. In the middle of your rib cage, it kind of does, I don't know, it's like a 90-degree angle. And then there's, don't have a good word for it. In the middle of that is the little thing that sticks down called the xiphoid process. You don't want to be on that, but you want to get all this outside. So it's going to be up your ribs. And then here in the middle, there's this horseshoe shaped. And usually the tissue there is pretty thick and gross.
And you're just doing like kind of circular.
You're doing little, just little circles.
Just moving it around. I know sometimes if I have nails, I feel it more. Is it more the nails?
That's just the nails, right? You want to use the pads of your fingers. I keep my nails really short for that. But I do have some girls at the studio with long nails, and they can figure it out. You may not be perfect at it, but I bet you have found a spot that was gross. If you find a spot that's gross, just stay on it. And usually the tissue will dissipate, the discomfort will dissipate. And once you feel that, you can move on. When you get to the middle, you're going to jump over that little xiphoid process to the base of your sternum. And your sternum's your breastbone. And you're just going to work with the same 2 fingers all the way up the middle of your sternum.
Which could be, if you have a bra, you have to like kind of
I don't worry. There were supposed to be all like proper and do you mind me touching and all of that stuff. But at the studio, like I just say, just put your, just get in there.
Yeah.
And if I'm working on someone, I'm like, I'm going to touch a boob. Usually they're like, somebody's touched them before you. Yeah. So it's probably fine. The sternum's an interesting place because it'll feel like bone.
Yeah.
Like, oh, I'm on hard bone. I don't have anything. But then the more you work, you'll realize that no, that's just really gnarly tissue. And as you're working on it, that will go away. So on my sternum, for a long time, that's what it felt like. Oh, I'm good. I'm right here on the bone. But as I've gotten the tissue to dissipate, there's actually a groove. And now I know that area is good if I can find the groove. And if I can't find the groove, it means there's some gross tissue. So you're just working up that middle all the way up to the throat hole. You don't want to poke the throat hole because that's gross. But up where your throat hole is, there's the little
collar above your collarbone, or
so your collarbones are going to be out to the side, in the middle, like right into your chin. You'll feel. Do you feel that?
Yeah.
If you poke in, it feels like
yeah.
But you can feel that little cartilage, bony area, and it's in like a U shaped. And you just want to work the outside of that.
This one always freaked me out because I don't like people touching my collarbone and
Mhm.
stuff. Is that a pattern?
Yep. It's funny when I work on people because I'll get that a lot. Oh, I'm sorry. I just don't really like people touching my whatever. And we'll have a contract. Okay. Do you not want me to touch it? No, you can touch it because I know this is good. Okay. I'm going to go. We work it
Yeah.
out, but it can be, there's discomfort in the body or pain. And then there's dis-ease of the mind.
Yeah.
And a lot of that is anxiety and dis-ease that's coming up here associated with what's going on in the area that we're touching.
It's interesting because I've never had any trauma, quote unquote trauma, to my collarbone, shoulder areas. My knees, certainly I get weird when you're
Mhm.
around there touching that. Ugh, like I start squirming and stuff. So yeah, it's just interesting what the mind has labeled as unsafe, even if something hasn't happened. Possibly.
You don't know that nothing has
Right,
happened because
right.
it can be something as little as when you were little before they had the seatbelt mandates. Your mom had to brake really quickly in the seatbelt.
Yeah.
Like it, I'm not saying that's it, but it can be something as small as that. But if in the moment it was overwhelmingly terrifying, then suddenly your body's like, that's unsafe, shutting that down.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's one more little place we like to go. So it is right where your collarbone comes into your sternum. There's a little corner.
Mm-hmm.
We just like to press that little corner.
You can do both at the same time?
You can. When I'm
Nice.
working on someone, I do one at a time. But when we're doing it in class, we just get in there for about 6 seconds. And then we clear it. And then we do hands down. And then we do a belly breath. So the belly breath is really important. You're going to go in through your nose. You're going to bring the air all the way down into your lower belly, right below your belly button. Big old belly full of air. And then you're going to push it all out through your mouth. One more. And what we're cueing people is to not let the chest rise and not let the ribs expand. That's not how we want to breathe. Those are both anxiety breathing.
Oh, okay.
So once we have activated the diaphragm, we've released it, we've allowed it to fall like it needs to when the lungs expand. You should have an increased capacity. You should have the ability to push the air down farther into your belly. And that's the basis of be activated is the belly breath and the ability to breathe into your belly and not into your chest or that lateral collateral breathing.
Right before you said that, I was just going to say that it felt like air traveled easier, so I could feel an expansion in my chest. And I wasn't forcing it, but it just happened. But then I was feeling it in my belly too, so it just felt like the ease of air to my body was better.
Yes, so whatever you feel is good.
Yeah.
So just remember that whatever you feel is good, even if it sounds like it's contra to what I just said. No, if it felt like you could draw breath open more,
Yeah.
open is good.
Right.
More space is good.
Yeah. It did not feel like an anxiety breath.
Anxiety is, we all know what that feels like.
But yeah, it just felt like I could almost picture it going through my body, going past the lungs and into the belly, and it's just like the ease of it felt better. And I'm also like in my head going, I do have a warm up for public speaking where I kind of like I do some neck stretches and shoulder stretches. And I'm like, maybe I should try some little be activated warm ups along with the breathing. I think it would help.
Activate your breathing and diaphragm, and then do a couple of snoop breathing.
What's that?
Our cool down is part of this whole breathing process. So once we get your diaphragm to work like it should, we have a couple of different breathing exercises that we do. And one of them is called smoking a joint. So that's what Douglas calls it. And what he says is, imagine you're at a campfire and there's one joint and you don't think it's going to come back around to you. So you want to get as much out of the joint as possible. I have found that in America, weed is very prevalent. So people are no longer afraid that that joint isn't going to come back around.
Right. It's not as scarce. There's abundance of it.
So we don't have to worry about that. So I've elevated the story. And the story is now, hey, Dayna, I got an invitation from Snoop yesterday.
What?
He wants us to come to LA.
Snoop D-O-double-G?
Yes, the dog father wants us to come and hang out. You know what that means. We're going to be smoking, and I don't trust that you have what it takes to not embarrass me. If we're going to go and do this.
That is a legit concern,
yes,
too. Yeah.
Yes, we are going to be so good at it that he wants to invite us back, and right now we suck. So we're going to practice smoking so that when we get to smoke with Snoop, we're good at it.
Okay.
So that's my story. It resonates. I said it to a 72-year-old white male, Southern white male. And I was like, I don't know what's going to happen. And he looked at me and he goes, that guy smokes with Willie Nelson. I said, yes, he does. And instant buy-in, and off we went. So bring Snoop into any story in it, and it works. So you're going to make a joint with 3 fingers. It's going to be like a straw. So you're going to suck through the middle of the straw. And you are going to suck all that weed into your belly, and you're going to make a huge, big belly full of Snoop's weed. And when you can't bring in any more, you're going to force a little bit more in. And then you're going to take the joint away, and you're going to blow out all of Snoop's goodness into the world.
It still kept my mouth.
Yeah. When you, and there's something about the pressure that smoking through your fingers causes that allows you to actually feel like you're blowing up your belly like a balloon.
Yeah.
And I think that's what cues people to bring the air all the way down to their belly. But then also if I cue them to breathe all of Snoop's goodness out into the world, it allows people to exhale everything they've brought in. You can bring your central nervous system down really quickly if you are overwhelmed by practicing Snoop breaths and then utilizing them in stressful situations.
How many would you say, or just however many you need?
However many you need, but 5 is what we use as a cool down. And again, this is another thing. I introduced it to my students, none of them with any experience on any of this. We cool down with our 5 Snoop breaths, and new students are always like, wow, I feel like I could take a nap. Wow, my body feels so relaxed. This is so amazing. We don't do cool downs because movement cool downs, what is that really doing? The goal of a cool down is so that you're not going from intense exercise to nothing, because then that's when your shit freaks out. But your shit's freaking out because your central nervous system is still wired to what it needed to be to perform during the class. We just need to tell it to chill out. Easiest way to tell it to chill out is to take 5 Snoop breaths. And all of my students that have done it, none of them have missed the movement cool downs. They're all like, this is cool, man. Let me get my stuff and go on home.
Well, I like that too, because I can relate at least to the end of improv classes where you're like, oh, I effed that up so bad. I was so bad this practice, this class. I'm not hanging with everyone. Your nervous system, your brain is firing in all cylinders of just negativity. A lot for me, at least. And so I can imagine a pole fitness class where you're learning new skills. It could be a similar swirl. So to just calm that, and then you can leave almost in a more peaceful, less judgmental state too. I bet that's very helpful.
It is for me, and then it has seemed to be for the students that I have introduced it to so far.
Logistics question. So when I breathe in, it's like you're making an O with your mouth,
Yep, like you're sucking through that straw.
But then when you exhale, is it supposed to be more wider?
Yeah, just
because I stayed with the O. I don't know why. When I exhaled,
did you feel like you breathed out the same amount of air that you breathed in?
No, I felt I was breathing out more.
Okay, so that's fine.
Okay, it was just kind of slower because it was.
I would like it to be a more relaxed breath out. So you're really focusing on the breath in, get in all the air, fill up that balloon, and then take the hand away and just breathe out all Snoop's goodness.
Yeah, second one was a little. So so you breathe it in, get the hit, get the high, and then exhale. Yeah, feel that.
And it's cool because if you do this and then you go to stand up, be slow standing up because the extra oxygen in your body and in your brain can make it feel like you legit just smoked some primo stuff.
Wow, that's That's awesome. And reception at the studio has been very positive about this new thing. This is very new to, I think, most of us.
It
right?
is. It is very new. I had an instructor. So I did a teachable course for my instructors and for my students that just show them how to do the warm up, how to do the cool down. So my instructors are going through that course now. And on Sunday, I had a new instructor. She's never done any Be Activated with me. She's not done a session. She just did the teachable course. She tried it out with her students. I came into the studio about 30 minutes later, and her name is Caroline. And Caroline was like, "Hey, girls, tell Susan what you thought about the warm up." And one of them was like, "Oh my God, I'm a trauma therapist. I could instantly see how this might be good for some of my clients."
wow.
And another lady was like, "I always feel so tight and cold before I start pole, and I felt so much looser today." And so that was a system taught by somebody who never really done it herself, just learned from me by a couple of videos, introducing it to students, and they all got a profound effect.
Wow.
That's the, yeah.
Yeah, so just in my head, I'm thinking of the applications for me. One, in my own public speaking journey, before I record a podcast, before I speak, even in meetings, sometimes you're all like, you got to speak at a big meeting, whatever. But also in my public speaking coaching, like my one-on-one coaching, because we do a breathing warm up with the head and neck stretches, and maybe I can work some of that in. And then, but the cool down piece too, because a lot of times for me, I'm always rushing at the end. So just to have that cool down kind of reset piece, I think would be really important to work in.
It's huge because we don't ever reset. You wake up, you hit the ground running, lifes all day long.
Life's a lot.
A lot. Like for however 14, 16 hours a day,
Yeah.
it's life in. And maybe you have a calm down ritual at night. But for a lot of us,
lucky.
it's get in bed and play on our phones,
Yeah.
right? Like this is my my chance to decelerate from going 90 miles an hour. None of that turns your central nervous system off.
Right.
This is a way to actually physically bring your system down from a place of stress to a place of rest, recovery, and relaxation. And it's easy. And then you have all the tools. Everything is with it. You don't need anything fancy. All you need is 3 fingers, a mouth, and a belly.
We have all the tools and we just have to execute it. But once you do it once and you feel it, that can make it easier to execute because you see the powerfulness and the benefits of it. And then and if you miss it, you recognize, oh, I missed that. I felt more anxious today or in general at night or whatever. You see when you miss it.
The goal of Be Activated is that I work on you. I teach your body what it feels like to de-stress, or we call it walking down the staircase.
Okay.
I give you the tools. So then when you're out in the world, you know what it feels like to walk down the staircase.
Mm-hmm.
You know what it feels like when you're super stressed and anxious. And now you have the tools and the understanding of how to bring you down to this place that you know exists. So that's the other thing. If you don't know it exists, if we haven't taken you there, then you think this is normal and where I need to be. I work on you. I take you to this place. We learn what our body feels like. I give you the tools to always be able to bring your body back down to that.
Well, and what you've always told me is, because I'll say, well, when you work on me, I get this inflatable tube man feeling like I'm just wacky and wavy and wiggly and it's crazy. But when I work on myself, I don't quite get that feeling. But what you've said is it's still working.
Still working.
Yeah.
Yeah. If it can work on people that were taught by an instructor who learned it from a teachable account,
that's true.
That's 17 degrees of separation.
Yeah.
And they got and they didn't know anything about it. So they had no preconceived notions, no idea of, oh, this is a thing that's going to change my life. So it's already been planted. This is our new warm up. Let's walk through it. Everybody got a great benefit. I didn't have to touch a soul.
Yeah. Just in the applications, the transformative of this, spreading this. So you are teaching, or you have talked about Be Activated at PoleCon or pole conventions and stuff. So how does that go in a big audience? Because that was a big room at PoleCon. How many people did you have there?
I'd say I had about 75.
Oh my God.
And I did not I expected 4 people to show up. And I got to the room and the line was down the hall. And I was like, are y'all here for me? And they're like, yeah, we read the write-up and we think it's really cool. So all of a sudden it was me presenting to 4 people in my head to this room of 75. And you can see the whole 30-minute presentation. We had a great time. And you can hear them as the aha, like the whole, oh, ooh, wow. Like the whole 30 minutes, the room sort of expands and around what I'm teaching them. And I teach at my studio. I also teach at a studio in Greenville. I've gotten a lot of clients from there and eventually, hopefully take it out to more studios.
Yeah. Well, in your journey with Be Activated, it's been a long one. Like, this is not something new that you've discovered. You've been doing this for 10 years?
7 years, 7 or 8 years. I've been through the program 7 times.
Yeah.
And I remember the first time I went through it and Douglas saying, some people have been through this program 10 and 12 times. And I'm like, that's not going to be me.
That's silly.
That's ridiculous. And yet here I am. And I just saw a video with him on social media this morning. And I was like, God, I can't wait to get back in the classroom with him.
Because every time you go, you have almost a transformation experience. Like,
for me, yes. And then since seeing him this last time and working on clients, I've had a couple of times where something has happened and I've been like, God damn it, that's what he meant. Like I now, this thing that looked like he did that was voodoo, I now know what he saw and what was his cue to do this next thing. I've seen it. And so that for me, it's like peeling the onion, my ability to recognize and understand what I'm seeing.
And I am inspired by your journey of Be Activated as well, because when you first did it, you were like, oh, we got this done to work on people at the gym or ourselves to help with injury and trauma. And you never really saw it as a business model. And then over the years and starting your business, and you've seen how it can apply and help. And now it's part of the business now, right? What was part of that journey or that change of mindset?
So a lot of that has to do with the reason I started Be Activated. I was married at the time to a wonderful man that was a professional powerlifter, and he had gone through some health issues. And so I saw it as a means to help him. Yeah. So if he learned to do it on himself and I learned to do it on him, how much better would he be as he faced all these challenges? So there was never really any idea that I could do it. And then we learned together a couple of times before we split, and in my brain, he was the guy that had he was super smart at seeing things. His intuition was really good. And so I never saw that I was going to be good at it because he was the one that was going to be good at it. Mm-hmm. And then when we split and I went on my own and started my businesses, then suddenly I didn't have that person that was in my mind better than me.
Yeah.
I only had me. And I believed in the system. So I could either tank the system or I could accept it, grow within what I knew and grow within myself and trust that I did know what I was doing. And that's worked because I swear, I think the good it can do in the world is huge.
Yeah. And for so long, it's just, this is just something we do at the gym and around for coworkers, family members, gym members and stuff. And not to say you're holding on to it, but just now realizing all the benefits it can have, you're like, I need to get this out to other people. And I'm withholding this because I didn't think I was good enough, but now I do think I'm good enough. And I can share this now.
Yes. And, we all battle imposter syndrome.
Yeah.
And I guess I battled that for a while, but the cyclical nature of Be Activated is having the work done on myself, being in the work for so long, mm-hmm. I have learned to find the strength within myself, and finding the strength within myself means accepting, I am going to fuck up, but I'm also going to get it right. So let's learn from the fuck ups and take all the times I get it right and go see what I can do.
Letting go of perfection.
Letting go of perfection.
Yeah. And learning from the failures and the mistakes and growing as you're learning.
And not being scared of that. One of the interesting things about Be Activated is you can work on somebody and they get no response.
Okay.
They don't feel anything. It's not painful. Like everything you expect to see. You have a client, I had one just the other day. Every time I touch her, she's, oh, that feels so good. None of this feels good.
I like wiggle, like ankles and my feet wiggle. It is the weirdest response.
It is painful and it is awful, and your
Yes.
brain is screaming
I'm
at you.
squirming. I try to squirm away from you.
And she was just, oh, this feels so good.
So
Everything I
interesting.
did. So, and you have to fight. Oh, am I doing it wrong? Am I doing it wrong? Am I doing it wrong?
Does she like this?
Right. Is she gonna?
Does she like me? Yeah.
All of that,
The
right?
People pleaser stuff. Yeah.
We get done with it. In between each activation, you get up and walk. So she'd get up and walk, and she'd be like, lay back down. We do the next activation. When we were all done, I tentatively said, so what do you think? Oh my God, I love it. That was the greatest thing ever. I can't wait to have my husband come back. I'm going to tell all my friends.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So
everyone's different in their responses.
And I can't let that thing in my head, even if she had said, you know what? I didn't really feel anything. I don't think this is for me.
Mm-hmm.
Right on.
Yeah.
Right on. Great. Thank you so much for coming and for trying it. I'm glad we got this time together. If you have any questions in the future, we can talk about it. But
do you think that years ago that kind of response would have been more devastating?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Same,
I did something wrong.
Yeah.
I suck.
Right.
I'm a failure.
Yes. If someone else did it to you, you'd probably be better. Let me recommend someone else to you.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Most definitely. And a lot of that was let me have my husband at the time work on you, because he's the magic. He's the one that really knows. He can do all of the things. He is intuitive. And all of that is true about him.
Yeah.
But I was as well.
Also true for you. Yeah.
Right.
It doesn't have to be either or. It could be and both.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I relate that story a little bit to my improv journey, because I wanted to get improv classes for my husband because he's super funny.
Oh, God, he's so funny.
He makes everyone laugh. Like, that's why we met. I was like, this guy's funny. I liked his roommate first in college when we met. And then I met Steven and I was like, whoa, he's really funny. Like, I'm drawn to this. Yeah.
Like, what?
And he's taller than me. Okay. All right. Check. And when we were in Columbia, I couldn't really find any classes. And then we moved out to LA and I was like, oh, Improv Central. Like, we're definitely doing a class together. And I framed it as, we'll do it for him because he's funny. He'll probably really enjoy it. He'll excel at it. And then I'll do it for my public speaking, because in Toastmasters, we have to do impromptu speaking or table topics. So it'll help me too. And it was something for us to do together, but mostly for him. And then throughout the journey, I actually enjoyed it more. And he still is very funny in scenes, but he's so in his head right now. He's gotten more into his head, just like going, oh, I'm not funny. This isn't funny. When in reality, he is funny. He just won't let himself see it. So it's a little funk right now. I think he'll get over it. But I've really taken it on. I've started the business. I've started the podcast. So it's just funny what we go into it. Well, I'm doing it for them. And then it turns out, oh, I did it for me. How cool is that?
Yeah. But at that time, you didn't know you could do it for you.
Yeah, exactly. And now I take classes all the time by myself. I'm exploring clown classes and stuff. And Steven's like, no, I'm not doing clowning. Like, it's outside of the comfort zone or whatever. And I'm like, I'm in. Like, let's get weird.
How weird can we get?
Yeah, I won't get naked on stage yet. So that's a big thing in the clown world.
Until you come to Studieaux Heaux and we get you in a few pole classes, because it only takes a few before the clothes come off. Thong and pasties.
That's so true, right?
Yeah, no, it's 100% true. 100% true. Your first pole class, you come in leggings and an oversized t-shirt. Mm-hmm. By your fourth pole class, you are in cheeky shorts and a sports bra or a regular bra.
Because that limits you, right?
It does.
You can be more aerodynamic.
The more skin on the pole, the stickier you are.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Oh, that's funny.
Yeah.
And there are some pole classes around me, so I've been interested to go check them out, because you're inspiring this journey. It's like, I want to get in touch with my dance.
There are so many around you. And my friend Pound Cake that is in LA.
I've listened to her episode with you.
She's amazing. She has a company called Naughty Godex. So you should look that up. That's also 3 X's, because she gets that's funny.
Yeah.
There are so many studios around you, and there's so many showcases that happen. She said that there are 1 or 2 showcases a month in the LA area. with
Okay.
joint studio participation, just in it's all levels, beginner to professionals. Like she said, the scene is really great out there. And the goal is for Hoe Apparel to come out there and do a tour with her, and then have her come to Atlanta and do a tour with me.
Yes, you always have a place to stay in LA. Of course. Oh, that's really cool.
Yeah,
So
she's the best.
So there's a whole world to explore out there. And even in the big cities, but also in like smaller markets, right? Pole fitness. You're making pole fitness in the Columbia, South Carolina area a big community. Now you're building community here, and there are several communities in smaller markets too. That's really cool to see.
I was just in Aberdeen, South Dakota over the summer, and there's a lovely lady there named Megan Stone who teaches pole class.
Wow.
In this tiny tiny town of Aberdeen, South Dakota. So yeah, it's everywhere.
Yeah. Same for improv, like, right? There's these smaller markets too that like improv is growing out. You don't have to just do it in New York or LA or Chicago anymore. Like you can find it in all these smaller markets. And that's really inspiring to me.
And then you can parlay that into whatever business you're in, which is what you talk about a lot with improv, but it's so true. I mean, if you sell insurance, right? And you're having communications with customers and trying to sell them the different products, your ability to schmooze and switch topics and
Connect,
like
Yeah.
all of that stuff. So these classes are super important in all markets.
Yeah. Susan, I just have really enjoyed this conversation. Let me check the
Check the notes.
talking points post-it here.
Can I talk a little bit about Studieaux Heaux? What we offer?
Yes, please.
If you're in Columbia, you need to come by Studieaux Heaux.
Yes.
We have pole dance classes. We have sling. We have silks. We have lyra. We have chains.
Did you have sling?
Sling. So it's the aerial hammock in yoga.
Oh, okay.
Only it's faster and spinnier. It's similar to silk. So silks is what in Cirque du Soleil. It has the two long pieces of fabric that they climb up and twist. But sling is only one, and it's in like a loop.
Oh, cool.
So for beginners, it can feel a little bit safer because you have something on your back for a lot of what you're doing. Whereas in silks, a lot of it is the two fabrics, and you have to learn
to twist it up. And
yes.
Yeah. Okay. Chains?
Chains. Yeah. So it's like silks, like sling, only you're in chains, and it is bad ass.
Also, it has to hurt.
They all hurt.
Yeah.
They all hurt.
Every one of them hurts. Lyra hurts.
Yes.
Yes. I can speak from experience the 2 times that I've done it now. All right. Say that list again of everything you offer.
So pole, chain, sling, silks, lyra, twerk, chair dance, strength and conditioning, and flexibility. And then like exotic pole classes, the Trap House Hoe, which is taught by one of my amazing instructors. And then we have another one called Slow and Sexy Hoe.
Yes.
And that one's more of the really sexy R&B that's out there. If you did not know, this is not the R&B that like our parents listened to. That's very
white.
Barry White. You know, the come on, baby. Like that. This is
can't get enough.
Yeah, no, this is I want you naked, and we're gonna do this, and this. But those songs are great fun. So we have other classes that then incorporate the skills that you learn on the apparatuses. Make it sexy. Don't make it sexy.
You missed Be Activated classes. You have that now.
And we have grip strength classes. We have yoga classes. We have a goddess yoga class, and then we have a pole yoga class.
How do you do pole yoga?
I am not certain. She has bought a book that has all the yoga poses and how they coincide with pole poses.
That's so
we're
cool.
Creating a class around that.
Yes, and.
The feet up, if anybody's familiar with the feet up, it looks like a squatty potty, only it's for shoulder stands.
Okay.
Your head goes where your butt goes in the squatty potty, and your shoulder are on the arms, and it helps people invert.
Yes.
The goal is to have a class in that next year. And I don't know if you've seen the mini slack lines that are on like a skateboard.
Oh, no.
And then they have a slack line. I want to bring that on as a class. acro eventually, contortion eventually, hula hoop. We have the fire people coming in February to do fire dance.
Cool.
Yeah.
Wow, that's so much. And open gym too for people to practice.
Yes,
right?
that's the big thing. We have open studio once every day, at least once every day, and it's an hour and a half to come on the apparatus of your choice and to practice what you've learned in your classes.
Man.
It's a lot.
That's that whole list, just one that you remembered it all. And then two that you're offering all that. I'm like, how are you not living at the studio right now?
I do live at the studio right now. I do.
Yeah.
But part of it is just because, like yesterday, I went to drop off paychecks and I got in there and students were doing cool things. So I got my video camera out and I started, doing some social media content videos. And then you're chatting with them. And then an hour goes by and you were just going to be there for 5 minutes. But
Yeah. Oh, I love how this is expanded. I'm pretty sure last year we were sitting here and I asked, like, where do you see this taking you? And you said, I eventually want to own my own studio. And a year later, you're doing it with a list of 10 to 15 different classes taught by amazing instructors and people bringing this to Columbia. Like, how cool is that?
I hate that I'm blessed, but I am incredibly blessed. And I'm so blessed that the sale just happened. Nobody knew it was happening. Nobody knew it was for sale. So just boom, I'm your new owner.
Yay.
And I'm making all these changes and they like the changes I'm making. They like the change in atmosphere. They were like, really, okay, I'll jump on the crazy train with you and let's see where we can go with it. And I appreciate that so much because it is, I have a vision and my vision is big and there's a lot to do to get there, but I want to take everybody with me.
And you're shaking things up there. Difference in owners that of course happens when new ownership happens. And you have to be really strong in yourself, as we talked about before. You can't be devastated when someone doesn't like you or when someone says, I liked the way the old studio did things. And you have to say, I'm going to run it this way. I have a vision. And it's not really no butting. You're saying yes and to yourself and not listening to the negative comments and letting that infiltrate you.
But I've learned that I can I had a lady the other day just say, I've noticed that you're really embracing the sexier side of things.
Yeah.
And I could tell she didn't mean it as a compliment. And I said, does that make you uncomfortable? And she said, it's different. And I said, it is. But I hope you see that there is space in here for that and for people for whom that is not a thing. And she said, yes. And that is why I'm still here. So
perfect.
If I had just taken what she said, gotten in my feels, been like, fuck her,
right,
whatever.
Defensive.
Right. No, I stood my ground. Yes, you're right. That's exactly what we're doing.
Yeah.
But it is also a safe space if you don't want to do that. And she was able to say, you're right. And I see that. And I personally will do those things. There's room for everybody.
I love that. That's what I just can't. I want to give you a hug. I love your journey that you're on, and I can't wait to come back next year and we'll record again and just see. You'll have a list of like 25 classes.
You don't even want to know what the goals are.
I think I do. What?
Okay, so we're writing our own curriculum.
Right. Yes.
For the classes. Now, that's not a big deal. There's plenty of pole curriculums out there. There are a good many Lyra curriculums out there. There aren't a ton of Silks curriculums out there. And there aren't a lot of sling and chain.
Right.
So the goal eventually will be to license our curriculum.
Okay.
Because for sling and chain, they're new and there's a ton of professionals that are teaching on the professional level. But when you think about curriculum for if you're like, I want to try chain, right? There's not. So the licensing of the curriculum is going to be big for us. The other big thing is if you come to my level classes and you want to practice so you can level up, you have to do open studios. You have to have practice time.
Yeah.
But what do you practice? So there needs to be a YouTube channel that has every move we teach taught in a video. so that at the end of class, the teacher can say, hey, here are the 5 moves I want you to work on if you do Open Studio this week.
Yeah.
And if you forget how to do those, you can go to the YouTube channel. You can pull them up. They're taught to you. Oh, yeah, I remember that. And then you practice.
You said there's about 5 moves per class or 5 moves for...
There's 5 apparatuses. Each apparatus has 4 levels.
4 levels.
Each level has about 30 moves.
Okay. So
of varying difficulty.
5 times 4 times 30.
This how many?
So that's 600.
Oh, Jesus. I didn't even know the number.
We shouldn't have quantified it. And you said that'll take a whole year. I mean, that's a multi-year project.
The curriculum's a living document. We're debuting it January 2nd. I don't know. It may suck. Like, we may get into it and start teaching and the instructors be like, but this didn't work and that didn't work. And so I think it'll take us a year to make the curriculum how we want it, how we think it flows. One of the things we're doing differently with this curriculum is they're run in 3-month increments.
Okay.
And the first month is skills-based. So you're just learning the skills on the list. The second is the instructor starts to put those skills into instructor written choreographies.
Okay.
Then the third, you're taking all that you've learned and you're learning to write your own choreographies and do freestyles based on what you've been learning.
Yeah.
And then you graduate by performing.
Okay.
Either in front of an audience, privately for an instructor, or sending in a video. But with the idea that you're not just learning individual skills, you're learning individual skills with the ability to put them together. So if you go to the club with your friends and a song comes on that you're feeling, you can put together like a unique dance.
Yeah.
And you have the ability to do it yourself. You're not relying on somebody else to write all your choreo.
Yeah. That's a huge level of progression and knowledge and skills learning, right?
Right.
It's to be able to be flexible and improvise and make it up after you've learned all the skills in the beginning.
So hopefully, in my vision, they're really graduating and they're leveling up with a compact. I own this level of skills.
Yeah.
They are mine. I have them in my bucket. I can call on them anytime. And now I'm going to add this new bucket of skills.
Yes.
And when I'm done with that, I now have this bigger bucket of skills. So that when they graduate from the 4th level and become what we're calling veterans, they can pretty much pull anything out of their back pocket and just do it. Mm-hmm. They have the confidence. Now you may need someone to write choreo. Like, you're going to need help. Everybody needs help.
Yeah.
But on a basic level, you have the confidence that you can do it on your own.
What do you consider? I know there's like a lot of financial goals around this, but what do you consider a success to be in the business?
Well, if we're still open a year from now,
big success,
huge,
right? Yeah.
Huge success.
Mm-hmm. That's goal number 1, right?
So for Studieaux Heaux, it's basically just that I can pay my instructors.
Yeah.
And that we're still functioning.
Very new business. And it is rocky. It gets rocky.
It's scary. Yeah. It is scary. Financially, it is scary right now, but I believe in what we're doing, so I don't let that overwhelm me.
Yeah.
The goal for the studio in a year is to just still be here and still getting stronger. I'll set a bigger goal then. For Heaux Apparel, it's the same. I need to grow my customer base. Yeah. I don't think Heaux Apparel is going anywhere. I just need to have the time to spend towards it.
You're being very spread amongst all these businesses.
Yes, I am. And for Activate Your Pole, I want the activation community within my studio to be strong. And I want other studios to start to recognize the power of what I teach and have me come teach at their studios. I think that will grow in 2024. Yes. And then the podcast just to remain awesome.
Yeah.
I got so many people to interview.
Not enough time.
Just pick 24 people for next year and have at it.
Love it. Where can everyone follow your journey with the studio, with Be Activated, with Heaux Apparel? Where can they follow you?
Instagram, there are 4 different ones, or 5 different ones if you count my private one. So for Studieaux Heaux, it is at STUDIEAUX.HEAUX. No, there aren't triple X's because Instagram won't allow triple X's to be in anything.
I was going to ask, does somebody have that
handle?
No.
It took me a long time to realize I think Instagram just doesn't
does not
want
like
that.
the naughtiness.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
That's for the studio. For Hoe Apparel, it is HEAUX.apparel. I think if you put in HEAUX apparel, it's going to come up.
And I will put it all in the show notes too.
I'm not great at remembering.
I'm testing all your memory of all your Instagram handles.
Yes, activate your poll is just activate your poll, all one.
No one
word.
had that handle.
Nope, that one was easy. No triple X's. The Hoecast was hard.
Yeah.
So it's the _ Hoecast 1X _ podcast. And then my personal one is the word birthday cake, but there's no H and there's the number 2 after it. And I promise if you follow all 5 of those, you will understand what my life is like.
And you actually don't post a lot of you post different things on each one.
So every morning I hurl myself out of bed, I get in my car, I drive to Brugger's Bagels, I get a big Diet Coke, I sit in my car, and I do all my social media.
Yeah. So when you say you get at least a post a day, you mean you're posting on each one?
Each one gets a post a day for the most part.
Oh my gosh.
Plus, I have a handful of friends that get funny memes or reels.
I'm one of them.
That all happens. I get it all done through various Diet Cokes. And then at around 9, that's done. And I'm able to go do whatever I need to do for my day.
Wow. Okay. I'm impressed. As I thought you just meant post on 1, but you meant post on 5. I have a hard enough time posting on 1. I have 2 accounts, and I have a hard enough time posting on 1 or both of them. So
I work with a lot of business people like you that are overwhelmed and scared of social media. God.
Producer Alfalfa is coming in and telling us that we've been in here too long and that no food has been put out for everyone to eat. Alfalfa is signaling that
she said it's done.
Time is done. We're done. The podcast Talking Points post-it is saying that we've talked through everything. Susan, I've enjoyed this so much. I love this. I want this to be a yearly thing where we chat and recap because, gosh, each year you're just growing like exponentially. 2024, watch out.
Watch out. It's on, right? We're making it happen.
It's on. And just to reiterate, access the issue and push it out of the tissue. Right?
Access the issue and push it out of the tissue.
And so remember to do your activations and your snoop breaths now as we're getting off. Everyone can do that as we're ending the episode.
You can put the 2 teachables in the show notes as well.
Oh, yeah.
They're free. You don't have to pay anything for them. They're free, and you can walk through the Zone 1 activation as a warm-up and the snoop breathing as a cool down if you want to add that to your journey.
I recommend doing that. I was doing some activations in the summer. I made it part of my yoga routine. I would do activations and then yoga and then journal and meditate. Meditate and then journal. And it was such a nice morning routine. I have lost sight of it now, but I'm going to get back into it.
Yep. I have also not done activations like I should be doing.
Because you're doing it on a lot of other people.
Yeah, I've been overwhelmed, but I will hopefully get back to that.
Yeah,
soon.
Well, Alfalfa is here and digging her claws into me a little bit. So she's serious, folks. Yeah. It's time to wrap it up. It's time to go. I'm going to go hang out at Studieaux Heaux now and help Susan during open gym. And we're going to have a good day. It's Friendship Fun Day. So we are recording this podcast. we are going to go to the Studieaux Heaux. We're going to do open gym, and then we're going to go get dinner. Oh, and we're getting Brugger's.
We are going to Brugger's Bagels because I have to take Dayna to see all of my friends and show her off.
So podcast, Brugger's, open studio, play around on the poles a little bit, go shopping at Studieaux Heaux, and then get dinner. What an incredible Friendship Fun Day.
It's a perfect day.
It is. Susan, thanks for coming on the podcast. Really enjoyed it. And thank you, Alfalfa, too, for helping us wrap up.
She said, you did not wrap up.
So I'm going to ruin your video now. I'm going to walk right across it.
She's the worst.
All right. Thanks, everyone, for listening. And we'll talk to you next time.
I look forward to it. Bye, guys.
And thank you for listening to today's episode with my bestest friend, Susan. Isn't she the best? She's just so great. I love that I had Susan on again for a part 2, kind of a follow-up, and to see what's happened in the past year, and it's amazing to see all that she's accomplished in a year. It's really incredible to see how much she is growing this business and how much she's growing her brand and community. I know it's a ton of work. I know on the back end from talking with her, and she was very transparent about it. She's stressed. It's so much work. I mean, it's taking up all her time. I mean, all her focus. And, that'll be the case for a while. But honestly, she's doing what she loves and what she's passionate about. And she's doing the thing. At least for me, I've always dreamed of having my own business and being my own boss and leader and making decisions. And certainly I'm on my way doing that right now with my business, Improvly Speaking. But Susan has now opened up her own brick-and-mortar studio and site, which I know is just an extra layer of work and having a staff involved. I mean, it's just incredible. I am doing a journal challenge for the new year, and one of the questions was list 3 people who inspire you and why they inspire you. And the first person on my list is Susan. She is so inspiring in not just what she's doing in her business, but just how she treats people and how she loves people, how she supports people. She's such a big supporter of women in general, but also just people in general. She loves pets, especially her 30 plus cats that she has all around. I mean, she's just so humble and supportive, but also she's going for what she wants too. And so she's having to learn a lot about herself in running this business and do a lot of inner work. And she's having a lot of personal growth now from doing this. And I just find that so inspiring. I'm so glad that she's in my corner, that I'm in her corner. I don't get to see her a lot in person, but we always text each other almost every day. We're texting each other different things. It might be different business ideas or just things that come up. And I know I can text her and she'll respond and give a helpful response or just a listening ear response. And sometimes that's all I need. She has been monumental in my growth and journey as a business owner. One, just like hanging out with her and seeing how she's growing, it's inspiring for me to keep going, and how she's encouraged me to try out different things in my business. Susan is really good at social media too. Please follow her on all her social media accounts that I list in the show notes. She's really good at social media and building up the brand. And I think I've talked about my issues with social media, or at least just how I struggle with it. I call myself an older millennial, and I mean, Susan's older than I am too, so honestly, I'm just making an excuse about my age that's affecting me with social media, but really that's just an excuse and limitation. I don't love social media because of the time involved in it and, like, the time that I spend on it, and then how I get in my head sometimes, like, the validation that comes up with likes and shares and all that stuff. And I mean, that's a huge part of social media is just letting go of that and realizing what connections you can make with people because of social media. So it's kind of letting go of the ego and really just seeing how it can help you rather than like how it can validate you. Anyway, going on a tangent about social media, but Susan's really good at it. She shares all the time. So please follow her and see what she's up to. And I wanna ask you, in this episode, I interviewed, 1, my best friend, but also a person who really, really inspires me every day to just keep going and keep getting better. And so who is that person that inspires you to keep going and be better? And how can you interact with them more? Hopefully it's a person maybe a friend, or if it's someone that maybe you follow and you wanna be more like them, how can you get to talk to them and learn from their journey? I do think it's good to kind of think about who we're looking at as inspiration too, like doing that exercise of listing out my top 3. It was kind of eye-opening to me. One, it was Susan, and then the other people were other speakers who I know personally, and, like, I've watched their growth and development and how their business has grown tremendously, and they're great speakers, and I just wanna get to their level, and so I think it's important to just be around inspiring people and have them influence you, not like influencers, but just, you do get influenced by the people that you hang out with the most. And it's good to just recognize who you're looking up to and why, and then recognize that you can get to that level. You don't have to follow their exact footsteps, but just seeing how they're doing it and like how they felt doing it and learning their journey is really important in creating your own path and journey. So, who are the people that you find the most inspiring and how can you learn from them? One other thing, I also loved how Susan called me out on my perfectionist tendencies. She's so right. We had a great time and a great interview, and honestly, none of it was really planned out. So I love that we did the post-it exercise and just, let it be, let it go, let whatever happens happen. It's such a good exercise and just letting go of control and perfection. And I really enjoyed that today. And, sometimes you just need your friends and your people to call you out, put you in your place, and not fight it and not be defensive and just be like, yeah, you're right. Because that's how growth happens and that's how you get better. If you enjoyed this episode and had anything resonate with you that you want to share, you want to share your inspiring people with me, I always love hearing from you. You can reach out to me at Dayna at improvlyspeaking.com. That's Dayna at improvlyspeaking.com. You can also reach out to me on Instagram at improvlyspeaking or on LinkedIn at Dayna Gowan. And you can find out more about my services and offerings at improvlyspeaking.com. And I will add, Susan is a fellow podcast mom or pod mom. She has her podcast called The Hoecast, which is very fun. And even though I do not do aerial sports or pole fitness, I love listening to her guests because speaking of inspiration, there's lots of great inspiration and takeaways and lessons learned from her guests that she has on. So I love what she's doing with the podcast. And I mentioned that she's a pod mom because I recently opened my merch for podcasters store on Threadless. Right now I have a pod mom gear. I have quite a few different designs and you can create t-shirts and sweatshirts, tank tops, notebooks, magnets, pillows. There's all kinds of stuff you can create with those designs on the store. And it's so fun. I just love having pod mom gear and I plan to wear it all the time. So I'm actually wearing it right now, recording this, of course. So if you know any podcast moms or podcast hosts who love and are obsessed with their little baby podcast projects, then they are a pod mom as well. Please tell them about this pod mom swag. I will be making pod dad swag soon enough, I promise. But I wanted to start with the pod mom swag because I'm a pod mom and that's what I resonate with. You can find the store at improvlyspeaking.threadless.com. That's THREADLESS.com. So improvlyspeaking.threadless.com. And usually they have sales and stuff going on. So usually you can get the swag at a good price too. All right. Thanks so, so, so much for listening and supporting Improvly Speaking. I'm so grateful you're here. I'm so glad you tuned in today. Go out and flex your creative thinking. I'll talk to you next time.